I've read 197 books, and I'm telling you right now, these 3 are going to make me a billionaire. And it's not because of some secret Illuminati information that are hidden in these. I'm not going to tell you to go to your local Freemasonry library to go find these books. No, these books are simply the way that they are because they fundamentally change the way that I think about what is possible in terms of scaling past 100K per month. Now, do you know that bell curve thing where the beginners are on the left and the experts are on the right, and in the middle there's this guy who is crying? Well, this bell curve applies to everything that we do in order to scale our businesses. When I first started, I was reading a book a week. I was obsessed. I was absorbing everything, and I was making moves because of it. I scaled my business to 20K per month at 15 in just 90 days from starting the whole entire thing. Then I got to a point where I thought I was past books. I thought, hey, like, why would I read a book about closing more sales when I can just buy a $5,000 course from someone who's closed hundreds of deals in my industry? So I stopped reading, and I spent $250,000 on courses and mentorships in a single year. And you know what I realized? Well, every single one of those ideas that those mentors told me for thousands and thousands of dollars in their courses, they were in the books. The only difference was in the books, they were framed as principles, which means you actually have to use your brain in order to apply them. And that's what makes them timeless. And it was only when I started talking to my friends who have been in business way longer than me, guys who are doing, 8-9 figures, it was only then that I realized that these guys all read, like, obsessively. Like, they went back to books because at a certain level, tactics that you get from courses and mentorships, you simply stop working. And all that you have left are the principles. It's the thing that you have inside here, your brain, that you used to think. And these are trained based on principles. It's the thinking frameworks. It's the principles that you use in order to think. So here are the 3 books that I believe are going to make me a billionaire in the next 2 decades. The first book is Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland. Now, a lot of you have probably heard of this book, and a lot of you are probably going to roll your eyes because you think, oh, it's just a mindset book. Now, a year ago, I would have rolled my eyes too. I would have been there in the comments being like, Yusuf, come on, this is like such like a boring surface level like book recommendation list. Books are for brokies, whatever. But to be honest, this book is the single most important thing that I've ever read in terms of all of the books that I've read. And I'll tell you exactly why through something that happened to me. For months, I was running my business the same exact way that everyone told me to. I would wake up at 6 a.m. I would sleep at 3 a.m. I would grind. I would do more volume. I would send more messages. I would just work harder because that was the advice given, right? That was what all of these gurus say. You just need to work harder. You need to send more messages for outreach. You need to post more content. You need to do more. And I worked myself to the ground. My health was gone and I was just miserable. And yeah, sure, I was making money, but it was never easy. It was always a fight. It felt like every client, every deal, everything felt like I was just pushing a boulder uphill. And I remember this one night where I was just done. I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I had this thought that literally changed everything. And it was essentially, I was thinking to myself, who said that it has to be this way? Who said that you have to grind yourself to death to make any sort of money? Because I looked around me and I saw people who were less talented than me, people who work way less than me. And these same people were making 10 times what I was making. So what were they doing differently? And so I kept asking myself questions. I kept thinking about it. And that question led me back to this book because the first time I read it, I was 15. And right after reading it, I had the easiest and best time in my business. And there was clearly a reason behind it. And the core idea, the thing that rewired everything is this. It's that you cannot change the world around you. You can only change yourself. And when you change yourself, the world around you starts to reflect it. Now, I know that sounds like something that you would read on a motivational Instagram post, but let me tell you what it actually looked like in practice. I fired my entire team, I gave away all my clients, and went back to zero, and I rebuilt everything. And I know you're thinking, Yusuf, like, what? Like, I thought this was supposed to help you scale your business. How are you scaling your business when you fired away, your whole entire team and gave away your clients? Like, how does that make any sense? But when it happened, when I went back to zero and I rebuilt my business again, this time, what I did was I changed myself first. I changed my beliefs around money and hard work. I changed my identity and how I viewed myself and self-worth. I changed the energy that I was bringing to literally everything. And when I started to relaunch my offer in my business again, I started to have these intuitions that seemed random. They always worked out. Like, for example, I had this like gut feeling that even though I didn't change anything drastic in my business, even though people were happy with the current pricing, I was like, maybe I should raise my prices. And surprisingly, my close rate actually went up. I started closing more clients because people actually saw more value when you tell them a higher price. And so when I was hopping on calls with new clients and I was doing it from this new place where I wasn't grinding, I wasn't desperate, where I was just genuinely calm and certain about everything that I was saying, everything changed for me. I was closing more, I was charging more, I was working less. And it wasn't because I learned a new sales tactic or that I changed my offer or changed my VSL or landing page. I didn't change any of that stuff, but it was because I was a different person on the call. I was a different person showing up to these clients. I was the type of person that is able to charge more for just being me. So I want you to picture this, the person that you look up to the most in your space. You know, the guy who charges thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just for his time, for a few hours of his time, just because he's literally like the GOAT at what he does. He's like the best of all time. Now, if you were on the same level, would you charge the same amount that you're charging right now? Would your offer and your service, would it be the same as it is right now? Would you do the same things? Would you act in a similar manner that you are right now? And when I asked myself that, I realized like, no, that isn't the case. So I had to change myself internally, and then my actions, they followed through. Now, in the book, the actual definition is called switching to a life path where I didn't have to work harder and I got paid more. It's a very interesting concept. I recommend everybody to read it. Reality Transurfing is a 600 plus page book, and every time that I reread it, every time I go back to it, I catch something that I missed the first time reading it. It's not a book that you read once and you just throw it away or you don't ever touch it again. It's a book that you literally study. And if you were to read one book from the list that I'm sharing in this video right now, it has to be this. It literally has to. You can literally forget all the other business books. You can forget all of the offer books and sales books, and you can forget all of this stuff. If you just read this one book, it will literally change your life. I have not met a single 8 or 9 figure entrepreneur who hasn't read this book. It's an absolute must if you're trying to scale above 100 grand a month and you're running some sort of like online business. I think it is absolutely one of the best things, super untapped. Anyways, moving on. So the second book is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Now, this book was actually written in 1938 and it wasn't published until 2011 because his family thought it was too controversial. They just simply thought like, people are not going to understand this. They're going to like revolt against Napoleon, and it's basically, there's too much sauce or else they'll kill him. And so what Napoleon Hill basically did was he writes this imaginary interview with the devil, and he essentially asks the devil, hey, how do you control people? How do you stop people from becoming successful? And the devil's answer was simply one word. It was drifting. So drifting is when you stop thinking for yourself. It's when you go on autopilot, and it's essentially when you do what everyone around you is doing because it just feels comfortable. And the moment that I read that, I realized that that is exactly what happened to me. Remember that bell curve that I showed you in the beginning? When I first started my business, I was on the left side, the beginner. I had basically nothing. I had no money, no connections, and I had no mentors. And because of that, I had to think for myself. So I had to figure things out from first principles. And I was super disciplined with everything that I was doing with my routine. I was waking up early every day. I was meditating. I was doing cold showers. I was doing all these things. And I moved with this just insane confidence, this beginner's luck, this beginner's Zen mind where I just believed everything would work and everything just did. And this is what allowed me to go from like 0 to 20K a month in just like 90 days. Then eventually I got to the middle of the curve where I started making like real money, where I started making, 50 grand a month and 60 grand a month. And this is where the drift kind of started. I started looking at what other guys are doing, guys who have been in the game for longer. And instead of trusting myself, instead of trusting what I believed I should do at the time, I started thinking, well, these guys, well, they know more than me, then I should just do what they're doing. I should buy their courses. I should copy their systems. Oh, waking up early and sleeping well? No, it doesn't matter. I just need to work more anyways. That's what they're saying, right? And either way, like my mentors all say that, as long as I'm doing the work, as long as I'm waking up, as soon as I wake up, I just jump on the computer and start doing the work, and man, I should be fine. It's fine. And I ended up spending $250,000 in 1 year on other people's ideas. And you know what happened? Well, I got worse. Not because the information that they gave me was bad or was malicious or harmful, but because I stopped thinking for myself. I was just drifting. I was doing what I was told to do instead of what I knew was right. The devil in this book doesn't look like some dude with horns. He looks like comfort. He looks like that mentor who gives you a step-by-step playbook so you never have to think again. He looks like the course that promises you a proven system. And he looks like every entrepreneur who's making 50K a month but hasn't had an original thought in 2 years because they're just running someone else's playbook. Or, by the way, even worse, using AI to think for them. He also looks like you falling off that routine that got you to where you are in the first place. That is the drift, and most people never come back from it. They just slowly fade away. They make money for a while and then they disappear because they were never actually steering. They were just drifting in the right current for a while, and now they're just simply not. So this book taught me that the most dangerous moment in your business isn't when you're broke, it's when you're comfortable, because that is when you stop thinking. And when you stop thinking, the devil wins. Now, also as a side note, guys, I was gonna get the physical copies of the books, but I was like, it's not worth it for me to buy for this video. I just read everything on a Kindle. So if you're wondering, Yusuf, where's the physical copy of the book? I have it on my Kindle. My Kindle is next to my bed because I read when I wake up and when I go to sleep. So that's it. Now, moving on to the third book. The third book that's going to make me a billionaire is actually this. So it's my journal. It's also my notes app, whatever you want to call it. And I'm genuinely being dead serious right now because the two biggest lessons that I've learned about business, the things that have made me more money than any course or any mentorship, I didn't learn them from a book. I learned them from paying attention to my own patterns. The first pattern that I noticed is this. Every time I treated a client like a transaction, the relationship was very cold and it was very short and painful. Now, every time that I treated a client like a human, like a friend, like genuinely as a person who I would hang around with, everything was just 10 times better. Now, early in my business, I was doing the whole professional thing where I would have emails with proper signatures and onboarding forms and keeping it very corporate. And essentially, my clients just treated me like a vendor, just like some company that they hired. The relationship was very cold and I was losing good connections with really good people. Then one day, I just dropped it. I dropped the whole act. I just started talking to my clients like they were my boys, like genuinely, and not as a tactic, but just because it felt more natural. And everything just shifted. Clients started flying me out. We would stay in the same hotel. We would actually hang out and we would become real friends. And those were always my best clients. We made the most money together. And even when we stopped working together, they would still text me years later just to check up on me. And so I realized something. I'm not selling to businesses. I'm selling to humans who run businesses. And humans want to work with people they actually like, not people who send them professional onboarding emails. And most importantly, they don't want to work with people who just look at them just like there's some money bags floating around. Now, the second pattern that I noticed in myself was about money. And I was only able to notice it because I was journaling about it. Every time that I was tight with money, where I was hesitant about spending or stressed about an expense or guilt tripping myself about buying something, my business would always slow down. Deals would fall through, my clients would ghost me, and it felt like there was this block that was holding me back. But every time that I was just easy with it, not reckless, by the way, I'm still investing the majority of my income responsibly, but just easy. Like if I wanted something and it made sense, it's not gonna make me go broke, I would just buy it without the whole internal guilt trip. Every single time that I did that, more money ended up coming in. And I think it's because when you're tight and you're scared about money, you show up to every call with that sort of energy. You're a little desperate, you're a little needy, and people can feel it. And it reflects on all of your actions and decisions as a business owner. It shows up in your copy, in your emails, in your content, and just your presence. And when you're easy with the money, you show up calm, you show up abundant. And people want to give money to other people who don't seem like they need it. And you know exactly what I mean. I've been on those calls where the person across from me is performing confidence instead of actually having it. And they all are just thinking, the only thing they're thinking about is how can they piff me so they can get paid. And I always thought to myself, like, I don't want to ever be that guy. And I would have never noticed either one of those patterns if I wasn't writing things down. That's the whole point. History doesn't repeat itself, but it oftentimes rhymes until you break it. And if you're not tracking your own patterns, your wins, your losses, your emotional states, your decisions, you're going to keep making the same mistakes and just calling it, oh, bad luck, or it's just a tough time in the business. You have KPIs in your business for a reason, where when you track something and it doesn't work, you can tell what exactly is not working. But how come you don't have KPIs for yourself? How does that make any sense? Now, no book in the world can teach you what your own journal can teach you, because no book is written about your specific life, your patterns, your blind spots. Reading other people's books teaches you principles. Now, reading your own journal teaches you how to apply them. So yeah, reality transurfing taught me that I can only change myself. Outwitting the devil taught me that the moment that I get comfortable is the moment I start dying. And my journal taught me that the answers were always in my own experience. I just had to pay attention. Now, these three things are going to make me a billionaire. Not because of some crazy secrets. Again, they're not. You can go buy 2 of these books, I believe, on Amazon right now for around $20. And the third one you already own on your iPhone or just an old notebook that you have lying around. You just have to start writing in your journal. Now, the difference between someone who reads these books and someone who becomes a billionaire from them isn't intelligence. It's simply application. It's doing the work of actually changing your internal state, actually thinking for yourself, and actually paying attention to your own patterns. Most people don't do any of that. They'll watch this video, they think it's interesting, and then we'll go back to scrolling. But if you are the type of person who actually takes this seriously, you already know what you need to do next right after this video. You just start reading.